What's up, guys? It's your boy Phantomb, and I'm going to be making a beat from scratch right here on TikTok. All right, I already kind of got an idea going on here, so I'm going to be starting out with 90 BPM right here in Logic. Got the Analog Lab 5 from Arturia here, and I'm using a preset called Modular Layered. Let's lay this down. So it's kind of there. I got the right notes there. So what I'm going to do now is quantize it a bit and then stretch the notes to make sure they're the right length. So select all, hit this little quantize button here. Now they're all at least in the right spot, so it'll sound a little more. So there's that. So now that we got the main loop here, I'm going to get a sampler up and get some snare patterns down because I'm going to have an 808 kind of act as a kick, kind of binded to the kick. So if we go to software instrument, I'm going to go to a sampler here, the multi-sampler. I have some presets over here, and this NB Kit 3 is probably the one I'm going to end up using. And the kick and the snare sounds something like this. Now, what I'm going to do is add in some snare hits just on 2 and 4, just to keep the beat just kind of something like that. And there's your snare pattern. This is what that sounds like. Another addition to the sampler, get that in there. And the best thing for me to do, that I like to do when I do hi-hat patterns is when I record them, I just do them as simply as I can, some straight up 8th notes or 16th notes or whatever the main feel of the beat's gonna end up being. And then afterwards you go into the piano roll and edit the notes individually to get them to play out with the more complex hi-hat patterns that you normally hear in trap beats. So I added just a little bit of a triplet feel in there. So now there's this. There we go. It's a 64th note triplet. So this should sound like I'm trying to make it sound. Over the beat. So now, if you want, which I'm going to do just as an example here, you're going to want to listen to the hi-hat pattern and figure out where you're going to want the roll. So I think at the end of this bar, the easiest way is just to subdivide it. So now this will be 4/16 notes. If you really wanted to make it less just straight up, you can slice these into thirds, and it'll give it more of a triplet feel. Slice it into approximately 3 equal pieces. Logic's pretty good at locking you into the right spot that you're going to want to be. It's pretty intuitive, especially if you have the snap here up to set to smart. So that's just having the entire beat, bar 8, beat 4, completely 16-note triplets. So a cool thing that I like to do is about halfway through this roll, start pitching these down.
Come on over, baby, let me stroke my ego. I'm ego. It's hard to hear you with so many people.
So now it gives a little bit of a, like a a pulling down kind of sensation. So now we're going to get into the fun stuff. We're going to add in an 808, which will act as the mapping for where I'm going to put in the kicks too, because I'm going to, basically, the kick and the 808 are going to be lined up together just so it really punches through. Get another sampler. You can add in any 808 you like, but I already have some preloaded in here that I love. This is where I'm going to have to just do a little listening and figure out what notes I'm going to want, so check back in a few minutes and I'll have that ready.
Tell me how it really feels. Pull me over, take the wheel. I think they'll give me 7 years, but I went out on appeals. Now you got me on my heels. But I really should be looking.
And let's record. Super simple. Dope. So now, just to lock it in, like I said with the kick, you do, actually, the easiest way to do that is just to duplicate this track up here because it already has that kick. I like to keep my kick near the top. Copy this, paste it into that track, and then just move everything down.
Don't tell me I ain't working hard. Walking around like I was touched by the hand of God. Anything you want, baby, put it on my credit card. And I get it. Can I?
So now the kick hits. So the kick and the 808 hit together. If I take away the kick, it's still hard, but it just adds a little bit of that higher end punch. So we got the majority of this beat structured at this point. So what I'm going to do now is transfer everything to audio files rather than all this MIDI in here, because it'll just save my computer a little bit of headroom, and it's easier to mix that way and chop up because you don't have to worry about the initialization of each note. It'll all just be recorded as audio. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and in a few minutes we'll be right back. All right, guys, so I got everything back into Logic here. I got them all set up as audio files. I got the main synth, the kick, the snare, the hi-hat, and the 808. So the next thing I'm going to want to do is basically just get everything to kind of sound decent. I'm going to mix it just as a loop, and then afterwards I'm going to arrange it into everything that I'm going to want to make it as a full beat to make it sound more like a song rather than just a loop. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is EQ the kick and the 808 together. If I play it, you can see that they're hitting at the same time. Anything below 60, we're just going to filter out. So there's that. Same thing over here on the 808. Like I had mentioned in the first part of the video, we're going to kick the 808 and create a pocket for each of them within each of their EQ frequency spectrums.
Tell me a lie, tell me it's all gonna be alright. Tell me I'm finding a higher power, show me something to find. I'm feeling the vibe, I'm coming alive, I'm feeling the pride. But joking aside, I'm just playing with you. Do you even understand what I'm saying to you? Don't sweat the details, check your emails. Going back and forth like I'm still working retail. Should be after maybe fucking more females, but I keep coming back. Hit the blunt to relax and secure, that's a fact. Crack the whip, armor crack. I'll be jumping off the roof while you're jumping to conclusion. Multiple contusions, very disillusioned. Bullshit, why you acting so ruthless?
So what this does is it allows the kick and the 808 to exist together without fighting each other, without those same frequencies just butting heads. So it just gives a little bit more room to breathe and allows this whole low end to really punch. So there is the kick and the 808 mixed together. So next thing I'm going to want to do is to mix the snare. When you're mixing a snare, and this goes for pretty much any type of snare, whether it's processed MIDI signal or if it's a real live snare, there's two real areas that you're going to want to focus on. Where the main hit of the snare, like the attack of the snare, you can see in the EQ thing, it sits around this 380, 400 range. The snares live around here. So if you say I boosted just a dramatic boost just for effect, you can hear that really like the snarey kind of more sound. So a lot of the times what I like to do to get my snare to cut, around there I'll do a slight boost, nothing crazy. I'm going to take off a little bit of this really harsh high end up here too. You don't really need it. Cut it around 1400 rather. So what I'm going to do to make it come up, I'm going to use a compressor. I usually just use the Logic, the main one, but I like the Studio FET. So obviously you can tell by the meters it's coming in super hot. So I'm going to put the threshold around -23 and compress it pretty hard. 3 to 1. Throw that limiter on there. Put it on around -3 dB. So we're almost to a point where I would consider this a beat. So the next thing I'm going to want to do is just add a little bit of reverb on this. And what I like to do to save, it's a lot of the times is to save CPU. I like to bust my real CPU heavy effects like reverbs and delays. So I have a bus right here that I'm going to name. I'm going to name this bus snare verb. So let's go here.
So high, I'm breathless. My chest lifts with the puff of the blunt, it's reckless. I'm crumbling undone and fumbling for answers, mentally undressing you on sight. It's my plight, it's not nice. I think twice before I say 2 words.
There we go. Just gives a little more space. So last thing I'm going to want to do before I start arranging is the hi-hat. So the hi-hat, it obviously sits way up here, so you don't need any of this. I like to cut it at 2K because you really don't need it. And then another thing I like to do, just to give it a little bit of character, is putting a chorus onto the hi-hat. Kind of gives it a little bit of a stereo image that's not actually there. And this mega wide preset is really good to give it that effect. So if you hear, let's do it before. And then it widens it out a lot. This way you can boost it a little more in the mix. I think it's time for arranging. So I'm going to copy this a couple of times and just have a couple of repetitions. So the intro sounds like this. That's pretty cool. But to make it a little more dramatic, let's move all this over a repetition, add another one of these, and then I'm going to copy this kick track just to give it a little bit of a hit. So now what I like to add, just to give it a little bit of spice, I'll add a couple of audio tracks for some arrangement effects here. I have this really nice riser that I like to use that I got from a sample pack by Kenny Beats. It's under effects, and it is this Denzel Curry siren. Pull it into the right spot, and then time stretch that so it's the right. In that same sample pack, we have this really good riser from Ski Mask the Slump God, and if I drag that in here, so it ends at the right spot. It should work in unison. Last little finishing touch, just to make sure y'all know it's me. I'm gonna add in my producer tag and affect it.
Walking in the room, the smoke just billows out, it's hazy. We don't give a fuck, we tell the cops to suck a dicks, it's kinda crazy. We all just fucking babies, but we walk around like it's raw with house and but.
So now, here's what we got.
Phantomb on the beat.
Like for more. For the full version, check out my YouTube channel. Have a good day, guys.